Live from the heart of Lincoln, America.
Welcome to Ticket Weeknights
On 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
All right, welcome into Ticket Weeknights. I am Harrison Arens, going streaming only today as we got Royals on the FM airwaves. So again, if you're sitting in with me on stream, great to see you here. And again, streaming on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter, as well as Allo Channel 951 for all those Allo subscribers out there. So again, we're going to leave heavy into the NBA, and I don't normally get time to talk about it, but I do want to dive into Husker football, and we might even just start there. Usually on my show, I like to focus a lot on the NBA, especially during the offseason when you have so many movements. Honestly, the NBA is at a point now where the offseason is more entertaining than the first half of the regular season, just because we're kind of at that point where the regular season in the NBA is still a point of discussion. I don't even know if it's 82 games is too much or the players just aren't as incentivized anymore, you know, when you can make so much money. And they're at a point now where they definitely put themselves before the team. I don't know how you argue if that's right or wrong. Again, it's just kind of a different era. So maybe save that one for later, but I do want to kind of crack things open right away and talk about Husker football. And I'd love to hear from you guys' thoughts from it as well. 402-464-5685. So the reason why I want to start with Husker football is just haven't had time to talk about it. And it has kind of been a hot streak of recruiting for Nebraska. Really, after we got Kalen, he decommits from Mississippi and then Ole Miss, and then obviously right away signs with Nebraska. It looked like he was just kind of waiting for the Twitter feed for all the promotional stuff to be ready to go so he can go ahead and announce it that he would indeed be coming to Nebraska. And then ever since then, you kind of see the dominoes fall one after another, especially in that 24 class. Guys like that Corey Barney out of Miami, you know, he was by no means a guy that I don't think too many people were tracking, just for the simple fact that, yes, we all wanted him, but everything was kind of indicating towards Miami, or at least there was a lot of silence around him. And the silence around him, you consider the last time he visited in Nebraska was, I think it was in June. It was quite a while ago, and he would stop at a couple other places, Miami. I believe he stopped at A&M as well as the last two camps, but ultimately he would go back and still be more fond of his visit to Nebraska. And he kind of opened up about that, a lot of that. And again, why he opened up with Kalen and starting this hot streak is he kind of says in the article, he really liked what he saw in Kalen. You know, Daniel Kalen, guy from Omaha, guy that knows the Nebraska end very well. And it's, you know, you hear from a lot of these players when they come in, like you kind of think of Nebraska as just this cornfield with the Cornhusker football team. And then once you land in Lincoln, it's a little nicer than you'd imagine. It's not all just cornfields. And the fans, even though that's the one thing you probably knew about coming in, it still seems to kind of sweep people off their feet a little bit. Not only about the fan, but the interactions with the fans. You know, you get a lot of a very welcoming kind of culture around here. And it worked very well. Obviously, as of late, Kalen, and then you get guys like Jacory Barney Jr. from Miami, Florida, who, again, the crystal ball projection had him heavily leaning towards Miami. I believe it was 89% before he actually announced or committed, I should say, to Nebraska when that was July 1st. And just kind of a surprising commit that I don't think too many people realized was going to happen as fast as it did. 4-star. I'd imagine he'll play wide receiver. That was his position in high school, but he is just listed as an athlete. So they'll see what he can do. Again, just a guy with a lot of speed. He's a little smaller, 6 foot, but still decent size around him, 160 pounds, again, a little lighter. So I'd imagine he's going to be playing somewhere wide receiver. We'll see where they put him. You know, maybe he can go back there safety. I'd have to watch more film on him, see what he all did on defense. But I know as a wide receiver, very talented. Just, again, the speed that Matt Rule seems to love so much. And we're adding more and more and more to the table. And just a bunch of guys, get through them real quick. Devon Hall, another Nebraska kid, another 4-star kid, wide receiver, same thing, lots of speed. And that's kind of a thing with Matt Rule, that he'll take the speed more often than not. Mario Buford, a cornerback, that one we knew quite a while ago. That was the last month on the 8th. And then obviously the big one, Carter Nelson, a 4-star 95 rating, and pretty impressive coming out of 8-man football to get that noise. It's just great to see Nebraska be able to pull a guy like that in. It seems like it should be easy, right? He's kid's from Ainsworth. He's talked about, Nebraska football. He's always been a fan of Nebraska football. But when you have Georgia knocking on the door saying, hey, we can get you over here, we can develop you and possibly get you a ring on the way out as well. And not only that, our ties with the NFL are so strong. We're just between Alabama and Georgia and some of the other SEC teams, they're just dumping guys into the draft year in, year out. So for Carter Nelson to have that trust in Matt Rule to believe that I can get that same development here, and it doesn't hurt to have a few guys, you have Fedoni in there who we still haven't seen play, but that's a really good tight end in terms of him coming in. We still have to see it, which is crazy to see, but if he's as touted as he was when he first came to the program, hopefully this season where he's healthy, him and Carter Nelson, they can hopefully work together a little bit and he can kind of expedite that growth process, right? Because Carter Nelson, don't get me wrong, I have no problems with his rankings, but he is a little smaller, right? Not as strong as he needs to be. And that's could be said for most guys getting ready to play on the offensive line in the Big Ten, right? SEC at that too. Like it's probably going to take a year or two. But at the same time, you could also find ways to sneak him in there, maybe not constantly playing at the tight end position, but depending on his growth, he's a good receiver out there. And you saw a lot of that in Ainsworth on that 8-man football team. When you think about 8-man, obviously the field's a little smaller, but still a little more spacing, and he worked very well in that space. Really good at high pointing the ball thanks to his 6'4" frame. Doesn't seem to have too many problems tracking it in the air. So I can see him shake things up in the passing game. As far as the blocking, I'd imagine, he's in a few of those, probably on the weak side to kind of protect him and let him get used to blocking in the Big Ten in particular. But it's going to be interesting to see, right? And this class is really coming together. It was funny, early on, the argument was we're just getting all these athletes, no stars. We'll see how it pans out. Now we sit 14 overall nationally in terms of the 2024 class. So it might have started out as just getting a bunch of athletes, a bunch of 3-stars, but it's quickly turned into just a sudden flood of these 4-star athletes. And again, I think it really started with Daniel Kalen, and I'm excited to see him. He's a guy that everyone kind of knew he was going to be a D1 quarterback. That wasn't the question. The question was, how good is this guy and how big of a miss is this from Nebraska? At the time at Ole Miss, this is before the Elite 11. So no one really knew, at least in my perception, I don't think anyone really knew how good he was. Unfortunately, I think we take a lot of these in-state kids, especially at the quarterback position, and we kind of like to see, what's that going to look like compared to all the other states, And sure enough, he goes to the Elite 11, cracks the top 11. Keep in mind to break 20 overall, finishes 10 overall. But the things that impressed me, he wins the accuracy competition, something that Nebraska, we just really haven't had that. I liked Casey Thompson, everything he did for Nebraska. The reason we're in a lot of those games, but the accuracy was always kind of a scary issue, right? You get to the late in the game and you just kind of worried about how well can he place that ball. He had a few incidents last year where he just really couldn't put the ball on the money, and then it's 3rd and long, and you got to try to force something on 4th and long because the clock's ticking and it's just too late, right? We saw that play out, not just with Casey Thompson, with Adrian Martinez, through the Scott Frost era as a whole. It's just been good quarterbacks with inconsistent play. And I don't know if that's a development thing that we were seeing, especially, I'd hate to continue to bag on Scott Frost because he's not the head coach anymore. But, man, we haven't really seen Chubba Purdy develop well. Logan Smothers is a guy that actually played well, but for whatever reason, maybe they were seeing something in practice where Smothers couldn't quite take that number 2 spot overall and just constantly kind of got shoved to the back of the line, or at least put in that 3rd string position. But it didn't really make you feel any better, right? Because you'd see Chubba Purdy come in the game. And he never had a game where he came out a step better than the last one. It really felt like he was just kind of fighting his own head, and it made you worry about the development. Now with Matt Rule, I have a little more optimistic. I hopefully, he can get these guys really tuned in. You got Satterfield at offensive coordinator. Garrett McGuire teaching the wide receivers. He's kind of been a surprising story, right? You got to imagine Garrett McGuire. I think he's only 25, 24 years old, a really young guy. He's about as old as I am. And he's out there recruiting, doing pretty damn well. He's the guy that is responsible for getting Ja'Cory Barney. Maybe not responsible would be a strong word, but he had a strong influence. I'll put it that way, right? He had a very strong pull in getting that kid. And I don't know if it's he's kind of got that youth to him. He's been a player under Matt Rule. I think people kind of underestimate what that might mean to a recruit. If you can, as a former player of Matt Rule, kind of go up to a guy and say, hey, I've been in his system. I know what it's like to work under Matt Rule. This is what he expects of you, and this is how he gets it done. You're going to believe he's got a pretty honest answer. He's been through it. And again, I'm surprised by Garrett McGuire, a younger guy, younger wide receiver coach, but he pulls a four-star that no one knew where he was going in Ja'Cory Barney. Again, heavily favored to go Miami, ends up at Nebraska. Just awesome stuff that you like to see. And as this class continues to develop, you get more and more excited for the beginning. I mean, you got to think we're a month away. It is already July, and we are just over a month away before Husker football. That is a good feeling. Now, the only problem with that is you're going to start out playing Minnesota. And as fun as it is to talk about what that first game against Colorado, Deion Sanders, first-year head coach, Matt Rule, first-year head coach, with two very different styles, right? You could almost say they're polar opposites in how they approach building a team. Now, I'm not going to say Deion's wrong. Let's see what Deion Sanders' Colorado team looks like when they come out the gates. I know there's a lot of hot takes about him. I just wouldn't sleep on him, right? Deion Sanders knows what he's doing. If you don't like the way he's going about it, I mean, that might be a personal issue, but I just wouldn't sleep on that team. I think that's going to be a good team. But again, that is kind of been the conversation, right? What's that going to look like? There's so many storylines. You got to look at Thursday first, though. You got to look at that week 0 game against Minnesota at Minnesota. And Jay Foreman said it well on Inside the Huddle. He was watching their spring game, right? The spring game was held indoors. Not a ton of people there. As you can imagine, it's Minnesota. It's cold, very cold at the time. That's why they opted to go indoors. And, maybe they had anywhere between 100, 500 people in there. Maybe more. On the video, it's kind of hard to tell. They could have had some lofts up top, and maybe you count some more people up top. But again, the point is hardly anyone there at that spring game. And Minnesota, you watch the film, it looks like the same team. O-linemen, running backs, same build, same offense, same physical, pound it, a cloud of dust and fall forward 5 yards, just over and over and over again. I'm saying this because Minnesota hasn't changed. And Minnesota has, really humbled Nebraska in the past few years. We talk about all the time about Nebraska needing to step up in order to kind of shake these teams off their back. For a while there, it felt like, okay, Nebraska's losing its prominence as one of the better Big Ten teams. Okay, now Nebraska's losing its prominence as one of the better middle tier teams. Okay, now Nebraska's battling not being the worst team in the Big Ten. And we're getting to the point where teams like Illinois, they've got Nebraska. They got us pretty well down, especially during the Scott Frost era. Iowa, we finally just shook off. Wisconsin, they've had our number. Michigan's had our number. Michigan State's had our number. Ohio State's had our number. The list goes on and on and on, right? The only teams we've really been able to beat consistently is Indiana in the Big Ten, that is. Congratulations to that. But if you want to get out of the cyclical cycle of just constantly getting out coached, it's got to start sooner than later. And I have a lot of trust in Matt Rule. But again, you got to look around the Big Ten landscape. It's not going to be easy. I know it feels great to have a head coach in Matt Rule, a guy that has done everything up until this point, what I believe is right. He's saying the right things. There might be stuff behind the scenes that I don't know about, you don't know about, hardly anyone knows about but Matt Rule and maybe some of his staff. But for the most part, you like everything you're hearing. You like the recruiting class he's putting together. But it's going to start at Minnesota. It is going to start against that same PJ Fleck team that will humble you in one half. And they got to be ready for it. They're going to punch him in the mouth. It's going to be an early game, or excuse me, not early game. It's going to be a late game. I believe it's 7 p.m. kickoff, but it's up in Minnesota. Nebraska will travel well. That's not a concern for mine. But again, how many times have we showed up to Minnesota just not ready to go? And I hope this isn't the problem, right? I'm not saying this is what's going to happen. I'm hoping that this stuff finally stops. I can take losing a, well-fought football game. You put it all on the line, and, quarters 1 through 4, you gave it your all. And the final score or the ball, it just didn't bounce your way, right? It's when we pull up to Minnesota and we don't start playing until the second quarter. When our guys are getting pushed on the line of scrimmage from the offensive line of Minnesota, if you take it back 3 years, that was pretty much all third string guys because COVID completely wiped them out. And we got bullied in the first half of that game. I want to say it was 2019, 2020 even. If you guys remember, it was probably that 2020 season. Text line 402-464-5685. I believe it's 2020 season when we went up there to play Minnesota, and we just didn't come out ready to play. It almost looked like we thought we had in the bag just due to how many players they were missing. It almost felt like they took that personally because they bullied Nebraska on the line of scrimmage, and there was no excuse for it. I mean, absolutely no excuse. It's credit to PJ Fleck, and it was kind of a bad omen for Nebraska football to say this is where we are, right? Minnesota's got its third string O lineman in, and we got our guys all healthy, ready to go. Not to mention what Minnesota had to go through practice just to get to that game, right? They could barely have guys near each other. It was a lot of individual work just to save the team, just so they could play that day, and they still found a way to beat us. So you got to respect PJ Fleck. You got to respect Minnesota because you haven't respected them before, and it's cost you some losses. So that's why it's so important, right? That Colorado-Nebraska game, it's going to be fun. But until you find a way to look at the game in front of you and finally just get onto some positive momentum for Nebraska football, put one behind you, and then you go to Colorado and you think about putting a second one behind you, a second win that is. So again, that's kind of my thoughts on Nebraska football right now. I'm really excited to see how this class continues to develop. The way Matt Rule and the Garrett McGuire and the guys that I wasn't really expecting have doing very well on the recruiting trail. And it's just the first year of Matt Rule, right? You think about his time at Baylor and Temple, this will be the best class he's had. The best ranking in terms of, we're just talking rankings here, right? Nationally ranked class. This will be the best one he's pulling together. This 2024 class, that is. And we saw great changes happen in a hurry. But it's also a different conference, right? Is that same thing going to happen in the Big Ten? We've gone through an arsenal of coaches now with an arsenal of philosophies and an arsenal of ideas, weapons, styles, players, recruiting talent, style, everything. We have searched, it feels like, every direction. But this direction right here, Matt Rule, let's win the culture battle. Let's do these off-season competitions where points are showing up to other sporting events. Your bowling events, your baseball events, your swim and dive events. You get points for that, right? Because you're caring about yourself more than as a player. You're caring about the end, right? You're caring about the University of Nebraska. Good step there, right? Win the culture war. Well, also to win that culture war, you got to win inside your walls. How are you going to go to Georgia and pluck an ace, a guy that is getting recruited by SEC teams left and right? How are you going to plug that guy and say, hey, come to Nebraska. We got a great, we got tons of facilities up here, top of the art, and we're really building something. I know it doesn't look like it's there now, but you have to take my word for it. If you can't win the guys in state, how are you going to go over to Georgia or Alabama or Tennessee, Florida? How are you going to go down there and tell these SEC guys to trust you when you can't even get your own in-state guys in the border to trust you? But we're seeing that change, right? Carter Nelson, Kalen, Devon Hall, big names all going to Nebraska. So I feel pretty good about the culture right now, right? It feels like things are starting to click, but I got to see it. I don't know how many times we've said this before on the radio, especially here at the ticketfm.com. It's just because we're burnt out, right? How many times we got to say nice things, just kind of get burnt, by the Cornhusker football team, just kind of putting misplaced trust in them to get the job done. I like what I'm seeing. I'm trying to stay optimistic. Matt Rule gives me no reasons to doubt him. The only reason I have right now is I just haven't seen it. but he hasn't had the opportunity to show it yet. So I'm excited. And again, it's right around the corner. It's already July 3rd, and it is closer than you know. Pretty soon, everyone's girlfriends, wives, whoever it may be, you might have to start getting your girlfriend's wives some flowers and chocolates now, because once fall comes around, let's be honest, those weekends are going to be awesome and fun for you. But unless she's a football fan, it's good to kind of get those presents in early. But with that being said, good point to put a break on it here. I'm Harrison Arens, going solo all the way up until 7 o'clock. Talking Husker football. We'll dive into some NBA as well. Appreciate you guys joining in. Again, if you got any comments, feel free to chime in. 402-464-5685. Also streaming on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter, and Allo Channel 951. We'll go to break. I'm Harrison Arens on 93.7 The Ticket, ticketfm.com. I'll catch you guys on the other side.
Agriculture is the economic engine of the Midwest. At Acres Equipment, we dedicate ourselves to making that engine run smoothly. We supply our farmers and ranchers with quality John Deere equipment, parts, and service. We also deliver the most advanced technology and precision ag strategies to help them farm today and for the future. Acres Equipment, solutions for every field.
Ladies and gentlemen, it has come to the attention of the Nebraska Lottery that when people hear a radio commercial in their car for one of our lotto games, Powerball, Mega Millions, or Lucky for Life, they tend to begin daydreaming about how they'll spend the prize money if they win, instead of paying attention to the road. So please, when I tell you that Nebraska Lottery lotto games offer big money and big fun, keep your mind on driving. Do not start thinking about all the things you could buy if you win. Things like bright red sports cars, tropical vacations, 100-inch TVs, hot tubs, SUVs, a new computer, motorboats.
Bob, snap out of it.
Oh, good heavens. Ladies and gentlemen, my apologies. Perhaps I should go home now.
You better let me drive.
Lotto games from the Nebraska Lottery. Top prize odds vary by game.
Working at Continental in Lincoln isn't a job, it's a career. And right now they've raised wages again and they're hiring for production operators at $24.11 per hour, which grows to $28.27 per hour within 3 years. Skilled trade positions now start at $32.76 per hour with opportunities to make more based on certifications. Continental also has salary jobs available and great benefits, plus medical and prescription costs at very low premiums. Dental, vision, and life insurance are offered at no premium cost to the associates with increased bonuses and vacation for new hires. To learn more or to apply, go to continental-jobs.com with keyword Lincoln. Come work at Continental today.
Hi everyone, Kendall Warnock, A1 Automotive in downtown Lincoln. Spring is here, summer is fast approaching. With weddings, vacations, and weekend getaways on your mind, do not let car issues prevent you from getting where you need to be. Car problems shouldn't be something that you put up with. Let us get you back on the road in comfort and safety. We diagnose all makes and models from Porsches to Hondas, Toyotas, and Chevrolets. We fix a variety of issues with all of them with our talented techs and our experienced staff. A1 Automotive at 11th and L, downtown Lincoln, always honest answers.
Steve's Garage Doors and Services is hiring. They are looking for a garage door installation and service technician with a clean driving record. Experience is not required as they will train for the positions. However, mechanical aptitude is required. If you want to come be a part of a small business where you're family, not just an employee, call Steve's Garage Doors and Services today to apply at 402-480-2840. That's 402-480-2840. Steve's Garage Doors and Services.
This Easter, focus on your family instead of dishes with the Venue Easter to-go meals. Prepared fresh in-house by our chefs, these meals are ready to heat and eat with packages for 2 to 3 people or 6 to 8 and your choice of juicy beef tenderloin, tasty herb roasted chicken, or our famous 6-pepper crusted prime rib. All meal packages come with sides and we have additional add-ons available to complete your feast. Order today at venuedelivered.com/Easter. That's venuedelivered.com/Easter.
Spring sports are here and it's time to upgrade your equipment. But don't go rushing to your big box store. Play It Again Sports is your place to go for all spring sports equipment for baseball, softball, golf, and disc golf. Play It Again Sports has quality, slightly to gently used equipment, and 50% of their inventory is actually new equipment. And don't forget, buying from them is a great way to get new products with great discounts by also bringing in your used items for store credit or cash on the spot. Play It Again Sports at 48th and Vine.
back to the Ticket Weeknights
on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
All right, welcome back into Ticket Weeknights. I am Harrison Arens, going all the way until 7 o'clock solo here. So appreciate you guys hopping in, joining in here with me. And again, just for those listening, tomorrow we will still have shows going all day. So from 6 a.m. to 6 a.m. You know, it's going to be a full 24 hours worth of shows. 93.7 Ticket FM won't stop on the FM airwaves or streams. You guys will be able to get your content all day. So although it may be 4th of July, feel free to go ahead and turn that radio on as you're kind of getting ready. You got the hot dogs, steaks on the grill, burgers, whatever you're doing on that 4th of July. Ticket will still be out there for all the years to listen to. We'll have some new shows that you guys haven't heard yet, pre-recorded, so you guys will be able to hear those for the first time on 4th of July. It'll be a lot of fun. I'm excited to kind of have the day off. You know, it's coming over here every night, taking over the night shift here at the Ticket. You can imagine it's a real killer for the nightlife, right? Not a lot of things you can go and do post-work to go hang out with your friends. You know, you want to go hang out with your friends. You're saying, hey, what are you doing at midnight? Not a fun thing. Not a text you're going to send out. You might as well just go home, go to bed, rinse and repeat till the next day. But nonetheless, I'm excited for it. I'm excited to have the 4th of July off. You know, listen to the Ticket, have that in the background. Like I said, we're going to have shows all day. Should be an awesome time. And if you guys have anything cool going on, feel free to shout it out. 402-464-5685. You know, me personally, 4th of July has always been a really fun one. My dad, in particular, shout out Chuck Arens back in Hartington, Nebraska, but Pyromaniac back in the day. And I'm sure all you guys listening, you might have some out there. You can remember your dads. Some take it to a new level, right? And my dad, 4th of July coming around, drives out from the farm into town. And I've never seen my dad's wallet, you know, break out so fast. You know, he was real frugal with his money. I'll put it that way. We're in the 4th of July tent. Man, he's got that thing open and he's not even looking at dollar signs anymore. He's just ready to light stuff on fire. And it's a pleasant memory for me, right? A lot of good times for 4th of July. And I just kind of hope all of you guys have an awesome 4th of July. Well, it's one of those great holidays where might not be required to go see your family and hang out with them. But man, when you can get together with your family and just enjoy a good 4th of July, it's awesome. It's worth doing. And again, can't be excited enough for it. And I hope you guys are excited as well, because, you know, once 4th of July hits, boy, that's when fall is really creeping around the corner. That's when kids are going to school, and that's when these sports really start getting going again. And I can't be excited enough. We didn't even talk about Xavier Betts on Nebraska football, wide receiver. I'm really excited for. You know, he had to do some things during the offseason to kind of get himself back into playing, but nonetheless, he's taken it very well. Everything I'm reading is he is ready to go. Betts is hungry. He's got plenty of positive things, kind of been one of the more positive talking points for this Husker football staff. I'm excited to see that guy again. It really feels like everything he has to do to get back, you know, into playing, took it seriously and took it with a lot of pride, right? And it sounds like he's going to be ready to go, and more than ready to go. Sounds like he could be a very impactful player on this year's upcoming roster. So again, I love talking Husker football. If you guys want to swing back to that 402-464-5685, or feel free to comment Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter, and Allo channel 951 for all those watching on Allo. Go ahead and give your comments in, and we can always swing back to Husker football. With that being said, though, I do want to change it up, kind of go back into my bread and butter here. Let's talk some NBA, because there's been so much going on. Draymond Green got extended, 4-year, $100 million deal, so $25 million a year. You kind of see that, right? I was talking about this before, and I've said it ad nauseum up until this point, and I have to, because if you don't know the NBA too well, and even if you really know the NBA and you can name a lot of the players, not too many people are paying attention to the CBA agreements. And the reason I say this, because it's all about the second apron tax. If you go $17.5 million over and you hit that second apron over the luxury tax, you'll start getting hit with penalties. Basically, you're limited from reconstructing your roster in the middle of the season. That's really the biggest kind of problem with it. And that's why it's going to hurt teams. But that really doesn't take place until a couple of years. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because I think the Warriors wanted to see what they could possibly pull in and let Draymond Green go. Let's see what happens, put him out in the market, and, you know, if it comes to it, we'll sign him back and rework a new contract, because he was a UFA. I don't think they were looking around. I don't think they saw anything they wanted. They understand that, hey, this tax apron's coming up. We're going to be over. We're going to be hitting this pretty quick. We're hitting it now. Technically, if we're to take effect now, we would be hitting that $17.5 million over the luxury tax. So I think they're in a win now. You know, they're the Warriors at a point where Steph, Clay, Draymond run it back, right? You kind of have to make some moves. And I think once they got Chris Paul over from the Suns to the Wizards, and then from the Wizards to the Warriors in that three-way trade, I think they realized, like, hey, if we just got Chris Paul, you know, he can kind of unlock Draymond Green in some unique ways. That is one of the best things about Chris Paul, and that is why I will never slander his name. You know, I'm a pretty positive CP3 guy. I've never gotten a lot of I've never understood a lot of people calling him a bad player. He's had a few disappointing playoff performances, but even during that time when he's on the Houston Rockets, it's like, how could you watch that and just put it all on CP3? And how does Harden walk out of that situation using CP3 as the scapegoat? They got rid of CP3 for James Harden. Look how that turned out, Houston. It went horribly. CP3 has been traded so many times, and so many times the team that gets him does significantly better than without him. So again, I'm just surprised. Why the Suns traded him is they had to make a move, right? And it was going to be Kevin Durant, it wasn't going to be Devin Booker, and maybe they just felt like we're going to be stagnant. We're going to basically just do the same thing we did last year if we do not make a move. Now, I thought the move would be moving on from Ayton, you know, and just trying to retool your bench. I did not think the move would be to bring in a Bradley Beal. And I've been pretty open about this. I'm not super big on the Phoenix Suns. I think all they did was maybe buy themselves some time, if that makes any sense. I don't see this team really making it to the championship, you know, to the NBA Finals. Are they better than the Denver Nuggets? I don't think so. With this new Warriors roster, are they better than those guys? Maybe. The Los Angeles Lakers, that team is, you know, you're still going through LeBron and AD. And they just got Gabe Vincent from the Miami Heat. So that's another one that we'll just have to see what that team looks like kind of coming out. And again, I don't want to count out the Lakers simply because, yes, LeBron James, whether you love him or hate him, it's LeBron James. He is going to impact the game when he needs to impact the game. And he's done it throughout his entire career. Anytime you write LeBron James out, whether you like him or hate him, he's going to make you pay for that. You always have. Don't ever write LeBron James off until he retires from the NBA. That's just a lifelong NBA lesson that I've learned. I pretty much grew up through the entire LeBron era, and you just can't count him out. You know, even when he's having a bad season, a bad month with the shooting, he will turn that around in a hurry and really make you pay when you doubt him the most. So again, Lakers team, and I give Rob Pelinka credit. He's done a lot of really cool things, kind of reorganizing that team in the middle of the season. I do like adding Gabe Vincent. Again, how many times do we see a LeBron James championship? When you do, it's surrounded by shooters, right? It's LeBron James and a group of shooters. Outside that first run with the Cavs, and maybe that one run, that kind of, I'll call it the Mickey Mouse title, legitimate, sure. But a weird one at that. During the COVID and the bubble, when they're at Disneyland, all kind of playing in, they win that one, even though they voted not to be there. They'd go home with the NBA title. I'm sure if they knew that was in the future, they would never have voted to not go ahead and finish playing the playoffs. But again, I don't see the Phoenix Suns as a team that's going to challenge the Denver Nuggets. Bradley Beal had a quote. Sounds awesome. They can guard KD. Second guy can guard Devin Booker, and I can just chill. Now, obviously, it's he's not saying he's just going to sit in the corner and hang out, but he's saying that third defender, good luck. The only problem I have with this is, I understand the argument. Who the hell is going to guard that team? You got to flip it over. who the hell are they going to guard? That's cool. You can score 130 points a game. But if you're talking about who's going to defend you, if you have a bad shooting night, you're screwed, because the way your team is built right now, who the hell are you stopping? So if you want to like kind of talk about who's going to defend us, you got to figure out who you're going to defend, because right now that team, as good as they're going to be offensively, if everyone's numbers stay true and that consistency stays and they don't have a sudden slump like some of the ones that Klay Thompson have gone through recently, that is a team that is not really going to be able to stop too many elite offenses. You look at a team like the Denver Nuggets, they have a variety of ways to attack you. And if you're the Phoenix Suns, that variety of ways only gets magnified against a team like you, because you have a weak defender here, and Kevin Durant, maybe not a weak defender, but you're going to have that guy heavily focused on your offensive load. Now, if he's focused on the offensive load, that defense is going to be a little harder to force him to be a really strong two-way player. And I feel like that's what it's going to take. If those guys want to win the NBA championship, the NBA finals, I keep calling championship, if they want to win the NBA finals, you're going to have to somehow develop into some strong two-way players. Haven't really seen that from Bradley Beal through his career. Haven't really seen that through Devin Booker through his career. Haven't really seen that from Kevin Durant through his career. And that's no surprise. Those guys are all insane scorers. It's never been their job to be a two-way player. They've never had to do that. And rightfully so. Why? I mean, every player should aspire to be a two-way player, but when you get to the NBA, you just have to be real. That is a lot of exertion. It's one of my biggest pet peeves is when people call out the NBA for bad defense. The defense is anything but bad defense. You might catch a player here or there, especially if you could kind of get to the superstars. Maybe you see a player jogging, but for the most part, those guys aren't just playing weak defense. They're playing really self-controlled defense, really sticking well with their feet, sliding, and just doing everything they can to avoid contact. How many times do you see it when a guy like Jimmy Butler, every single layup, he leans in with his shoulder to get that contact for the N1? It's not weak defense. It's just good offense and rules that cater towards the offense that limit the defense's abilities to get in front of a guy. So again, it's not weak defense. It's just hard to be physical and not foul out immediately. And right now, all those guys are going to have to become great defensive players. And the reason I bring that up is because you can't just be physical anymore. It takes a lot of movement, a lot of staying on your feet, a lot of sliding around, quick feet. You can imagine the players in the NBA today, you better have quick feet to stay in front of those guys. And they will kill you if you don't. So that's a lot of exertion, right? To play that elite defense and then to be that elite of a scorer. And right now, it feels like they're only worried about scoring. Now, it could be wrong. Maybe they come into the season, and now that Bradley Beal is the third guy, being that strong defender isn't as much as a problem. Because you look at Bradley Beal athletically, he's got quick hands, quick feet, freaky athletic. He should be able to stay in front of guys. It's just a matter of being disciplined and humble and being able to will yourself into playing solid defense, not just for one possession, not just for one half, every single time when you get to the half-court possession. It could all swing. I could be wrong about some of these guys not being able to defend at that level. But even then, it's not just being able to defend. It's being able to defend at an elite level. Because I think that's really what it's going to take. You look at the bench, they're still looking at Cameron Payne to kind of step up for him. You're still looking at Ayton. That hasn't really worked for you. Again, just a team that I'm really curious about that maybe made some moves that buys them time, kind of like the Warriors, but doesn't really guarantee anything. Now, obviously, none of these things guarantee anything, but some boost your chances more than others. We'll put a pin on it here, and we'll continue this conversation on the next segment. I'm Harrison Arens, going solo all the way up until 7 o'clock. Appreciate you guys joining in. You want to chime in, 402-464-5685, as well as I'm streaming on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter. And again, you guys can always join in on the show. With that being said, though, we'll go ahead and throw it to break. I'm Harrison Arens on the Ticket, ticketfm.com, and I will catch you guys on the other side.
Agriculture is the economic engine of the Midwest. At Acres Equipment, we dedicate ourselves to making that engine run smoothly. We supply our farmers and ranchers with quality John Deere equipment, parts, and service. We also deliver the most advanced technology and precision ag strategies to help them farm today and for the future. Acres Equipment, solutions for every field.
Ladies and gentlemen, it has come to the attention of the Nebraska Lottery that when people hear a radio commercial in their car for one of our lotto games, Powerball, Mega Millions, or Lucky 5, they tend to begin daydreaming about how they'll spend the prize money if they win, instead of paying attention to the road. So please, when I tell you that Nebraska Lottery lotto games offer big money and big fun, keep your mind on driving. Do not start thinking about all the things you could buy if you win. Things like bright red sports cars, tropical vacations, 100-inch TVs, hot tubs, SUVs, a new computer, motorboats.
Bob, snap out of it.
Oh, good heavens. Ladies and gentlemen, my apologies. Perhaps I should go home now.
You better let me drive.
Lotto games from the Nebraska Lottery. Top prize odds vary by game.
Working at Continental in Lincoln isn't a job, it's a career. And right now they've raised wages again and they're hiring for production operators at $24.11 per hour, which grows to $28.27 per hour within 3 years. Skilled trade positions now start at $32.76 per hour with opportunities to make more based on certifications. Continental also has salary jobs available and great benefits, plus medical and prescription costs at very low premiums. Dental, vision, and life insurance are offered at no premium cost to the associates with increased bonuses and vacation for new hires. To learn more or to apply, go to continental-jobs.com with keyword Lincoln. Come work at Continental today.
Hi everyone, Kendall Warnock, A1 Automotive in downtown Lincoln. Spring is here. Summer is fast approaching. With weddings, vacations, and weekend getaways on your mind, do not let car issues prevent you from getting where you need to be. Car problems shouldn't be something that you put up with. Let us get you back on the road in comfort and safety. We diagnose all makes and models from Porsches to Hondas, Toyotas, and Chevrolets. We fix a variety of issues with all of them with our talented techs and our experienced staff. A1 Automotive at 11th and L, downtown Lincoln, always honest answers.
Steve's Garage Doors and Services is hiring. They are looking for a garage door installation and service technician with a clean driving record. Experience is not required as they will train for the positions. However, mechanical aptitude is required. If you want to come be a part of a small business where you're family, not just an employee, call Steve's Garage Doors and Services today to apply at 402-480-2840. That's 402-480-2840. Steve's Garage Doors and Services.
This Easter, focus on your family instead of dishes with the Venue Easter to-go meals. Prepared fresh in house by our chefs, these meals are ready to heat and eat with packages for 2 to 3 people or 6 to 8 and your choice of juicy beef tenderloin, tasty herb roasted chicken, or our famous 6-pepper crusted prime rib. All meal packages come with sides and we have additional add-ons available to complete your feast. Order today at venuedelivered.com/Easter. That's venuedelivered.com/Easter.
Spring sports are here and it's time to upgrade your equipment. But don't go rushing to your big box store. Play It Again Sports is your place to go for all spring sports equipment for baseball, softball, golf, and disc golf. Play It Again Sports has quality, slightly to gently used equipment, and 50% of their inventory is actually new equipment. And don't forget, buying from them is a great way to get new products with great discounts by also bringing in your used items for store credit or cash.
Back to the Ticket Weeknights
on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
All right, welcome back into Ticket Weeknights. This will be my final solo segment going all the way up until 7 o'clock. And again, be sure to stay tuned because up next we will have the Corner 3 with Austin Orman. That show's been a great one so far, especially just looking at the numbers-wise. Seems like people are really enjoying that one. It's a little more college-oriented, I believe. So if you're into that, be sure to stick around for the next hour. And then to wrap it up from 8 to 9 o'clock, we will have the captain himself, Rashawn Jackson. He will be in here streaming in, actually, with a special guest of his own, Heart of a Husker, from 8 to 9 p.m. So again, you heard it from me. Plenty of good ticket content up ahead, so don't go anywhere. But I will go ahead and finish things off here on my own solo hour. So we talked a lot about the NBA. We talked a lot about Husker football. And we really left a point where by the last segment, I basically tied a knot on congratulations to the Phoenix Suns. I'm eager and curious to see it, but you're not going to win anything unless some of you guys can form into two-way players, or unless they have enough cap space to make another acquisition. That one's going to be tough. I'd have to look into the numbers, but I sure as hell know that Bradley Beal, Kevin Durant, and Devin Booker are not cheap. So what's left at the bottom of the scrap pile to kind of fill those spots? Again, they just don't have a ton of guys. So I'm curious to see that one turn out. Eager, put it that way. But moving on here, Damian Lillard, what I want to tie up on. Damian Lillard it's pretty strongly indicating he's going to the Miami Heat, right? He's requested to be traded. He's indicated that he would like to go to the Miami Heat. That is from Shams. So very good source there. And we've seen this with superstars, right? Superstars in the league, especially as of late, have a pretty good track record on ending up where they wanted to go. Where did James Harden want to go out of Houston? It happened, right? He goes to this, he makes it out, right? He gets to the Brooklyn Nets. And then over 76ers, Brooklyn Nets, and now he's on the move again. Kyrie Irving, he wanted to go to the Celtics, gets to the Celtics, doesn't want to be on the Celtics, wants to go to the Brooklyn Nets, gets to the Brooklyn Nets. And now Brooklyn Nets doesn't want to be there anymore. He wants to get out of there, wants to go to the Mavericks. He sees Luka, now he's on the Mavericks. Kevin Durant. Man, we're not winning here in OKC. I want to go to the Warriors. Gets on the Warriors. Man, it's cool. I did it at the Warriors. I kind of want to get out of here and do my own thing now. I'm going to go to the Brooklyn Nets. Gets to the Brooklyn Nets. It's not really working up here in Brooklyn. Who's this Ben Simmons guy? I thought he was going to be a hard worker. I haven't even seen him. Now I want to go to Phoenix. Now he's in Phoenix. These guys end up where they want to go. When you're at that level, for the most part, it's pretty well in motion already. And the reason why I say it's in motion, you look at the Miami Heat's trades, right? What they've been doing. Not a lot of players added to the roster, just space. And you don't have to be genius to mean, what does getting cap space mean? Why are they doing this now? So the Miami Heat, this is all within the week. Miami Heat, they get some more salary cap. They send Victor Oladipo to the OKC Thunder for draft compensation in trade exception. All right, cleared some space there. Moving on, another trade. What do you know? Miami Heat are in there again. Miami Heat, they don't get any players. They get a future second-round pick, and they give up Max Strus to the Cleveland Cavaliers. The three-way trade, San Antonio Spurs get C.D. Osman and Lamar Stevens. So right there's two trades back-to-back where the Miami Heat don't get a player, and instead, all they're taking is draft compensation and some second-round picks and a trade exception. They're moving pieces. It's happening right now. I'm sure the conversation's going, and you got to think in Portland too, they're going to treat Damian Lillard right. Out of all the players that ought to have a say on where they go, he's one of the guys that by all means deserves that right. He has tried it with Portland over and over and over. He tried it with CJ McCollum for the longest time. They get Nurkic in there, still doesn't work. Who's this Anthony Simons guy? He seems like a pretty good player, but we're still not over the hump. And now you get Scoot Henderson. Do I want to be around to develop this guy, or do I want to go win a ring? Because I have been trying for so long, and all I've got to show for it is one Western Conference Finals appearance where I got swept by the Warriors. A solid Warriors team, to be fair. It's not like they got swept by a bad team. They got swept by, if you want to call them a dynasty, call them a dynasty, or a mini dynasty. They got caught by that Warriors when they were just running it back over and over and over again. So again, I think Damian Lillard, he's going to be a Miami Heat before we know it. That's just where I'm leaning. We have seen some of these things fall apart. There is a possibility that it falls apart, but I would be awfully surprised if that's the case. It all seems like Damian Lillard will most likely be Miami Heat. I said it before. You look at these superstars, KD, Kyrie Irving, James Harden, they end up where they want to go over and over and over again. It's no surprise, and I don't think it'll be a surprise this time either, especially when you're dealing with a guy like Damian Lillard that actually seems truly good for his word, that he will stay there. And if he says he's going to stay there, he'll stay. If he wants out, you better take it. He means it as well. With that being said, though, we'll go ahead and finish up this hour. Appreciate you guys listening. Nonetheless, it's been a great hour to talk some Husker football, some NBA, a lot of trade talks, possibility of Damian Lillard becoming a Miami Heat, which seems more likely than ever, especially with the movements they're making right now. These quiet movements, just getting some space ready for a superstar. And who knows what that does for the trajectory of the Miami Heat. You get a Damian Lillard with Bam Adebayo, and Jimmy Butler, all of a sudden that pick and roll game looks really scary, right? So they can make some noise over in the Eastern Conference. But there's a lot of teams still figuring out. We got to see what the Celtics looks like with Porzingis. Milwaukee Bucks, they're not going anywhere. Giannis only looks hungry for revenge. So again, plenty of stuff to go through, and I will continue to keep you informed. But I appreciate you listening to me. Up next, the Corner 3 with Austin Orman. Should be a good show. Appreciate you guys listening, and I'll see you guys next Thursday, actually. Have a good one.